Good morning, all. Let's start the today's session. Just for a recap, in the demo session, just I am talking about what is CRM and why to use CRM and about the customer relationship management. And regarding the applications I have discussed, what are the core business applications to in the Dynamics 365 CE? And I have provided the difference between Dynamics 365 CE and F&O. And what we are going to learn in the Dynamics 365 CE, that's what we are discussing in the previous session, just for a basic understanding of what is customer Microsoft CRM and what is customer relationship management. This is what actually we are discussing in the previous demo session. So today, let's have some information about how to start with the dynamic CRM and all, right? So just want to give some basic understanding of how to start with the dynamic CRM and what will happen in the backend and where to set up these environments and all, right? To start with dynamic CRM, I have some trial instance here. To start with this instance, as you know, like any organization, if they would like to purchase the trial license and all, how to get the trial license, I will explain you. But after getting the trial license, they have some admin center, right? That we will call as Power Platform Admin Center here. That it is nothing but PPAC here. That we will refer it as PPAC. PPAC is nothing but Power Platform Admin Center. You may be aware in outside like Power Platform, there is like a lot of openings in Power Platform. That is nothing but Power Platform is like admin center where we are going to manage all our environments or all our instances in Dynamics CRM. Right? Here, this is like Power Platform Admin Center. The URL of it is like admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. This is the URL where why this admin center is used in the sense to configure your organization URLs or instances there. This is the place where your administrator will work on it and will create some environments there so that your development team or the users will work on this particular instances there. So before checking on these creations or not, as we are getting into the Dynamics 365, you need to understand the core concept of how this Dynamics 365 CRM, how this Dynamics 365 will maintain and all, right? So here, this is the place where you could see the environments, right? Click on this environments. Here it shows all the list of environments available in your instance, in your system. So, but what actually all this consists of? To understand this, you should know some terminology here. Here we regularly used to call tenant, right? Tenant, environment, instances, organization URL. So we need to be aware of the terminology first. Why? Because if you are going to work in some organization, the terminology is most important. Usually, after learning something, if you are going to some company to work on some projects, you will be caught up with this terminology only. I mean to say, with the basic information, if you want to refer something, the terminology is most important here, right? So here, the tenant is nothing but, as I said, dynamic CRM is like single tenant architecture. I will explain you what actually this architecture and all in detail later. But here, what will happen is the same example in the previous demonstration we are talking about the BMW, right? Now, let's say BMW company would like to purchase a dynamic CRM license to complete the transaction, like from marketing, sales, service, or F&O, finance, or whatever. For this, they will create some space for you in their servers, right? That is nothing but one tenant here. In this particular tenant, let's assume the tenant is nothing but one container, like one box of sort of thing, so that in that particular space, you are going to have all your environments there, right? The environment is nothing but, why this environment is required? Environment is nothing but the URL or the website where you are going to access your instances, right? Now, let's say this is my test is one of the instance which I used to take for taking the classes and all. So I just created one instance. You could see the URL there, right? This is nothing but your environment where actually you are going to access your organization. This is my organization where it has all my applications there. You could see the sales hub here, and in the same way, different apps, different applications I could see in my environment, right? This is nothing but your environment. Now, let's say Now let the here that is nothing but environment. Then what is instances? Instances is nothing but in this total environment you have different applications. If you would like to work on single instance like sales or single application, if you want to perform, then that is called as instance. Instance is nothing but you are going to create new environment only here. In the same way, you are going to create new environment, but with a single instance like sales or single application. That is called as instances here. The environment is like group of applications, we could say, like with all at one place. Instances like if you want to target some particular solution sort of thing, you can call it and you can create instances. But there is no separate options to create instance and all. This is environment only, but for naming purpose, we will use this instances there. So now you know what is environment. And here, in any organization in the software industry, you know, not only for dynamic CRM, whatever the technology, how the developers or how the activities will go. There will be some dev instance, right? And there will be some QA instance, and there will be some UAT instance, and finally it is production, right? That means if you create one instance here, now let's say my instance is like HTTPS. Just let me take the same here. So this is my one instance. I'm just giving the name here as a tool. Right? In this way, I will create different instances there. Right? Why this is required? Let's say I want to have these 4 environments or instances. Why this is required? Now, in this particular environment, I used to have my development. This is called your development instance, where your developers or consultants will do some configurations or customizations to develop their functionality, right? And in this quality acceptance instance, your quality team will check the solution in this particular. I will move this solution to this particular quality acceptance test, that is instance 2. Here, where my quality acceptance team will check my solution, right? The process of moving solution from one organization to another or one instance to another instance is nothing but deployment here. The new terminology again, I will explain you each and everything here. Just I want to introduce the basic terminology and how the process here, right? Here the deployment is nothing but with the deployment techniques, the solution which is developed in the development instance will be moved to the QA, right? But to this. Here my quality acceptance team will test my solution. And once the testing is done, if they said go ahead, that means that it is like error free, then the solution will be moved to the UAT instance. Here where actually user acceptance test will perform. You know the test engineers, right? The front end user, what the data they are going to provide in the form which you created and how the system is responding there. So everything user acceptance test will be performed in this instance. And it is error free, then they also provide approval to, it is like error fix in that way. Then the solution will be moved to the production, right? This is how in software industry, whatever the software you take, this is a regular procedure which we used to take, right? Here, this all environments will be available in this tenant. Getting my point? This all environment which we are creating, right? All these environments will be available in a single tenant. This is called single tenant architecture. I mean to say, just for your understanding, here, whatever the Power Platform Admin Center which I am trying to show you, this we will call it as tenant. In this tenant, you are going to have all environments. Now, let's suppose if you raise any ticket to the Microsoft, with help and support or something, if you have any issue with your product or anything. So if you are going to raise any ticket to the Microsoft, they will take the first point is like the tenant ID of the customer. In that particular tenant ID, we have some different environments, and for every tenant, for every instance, they have some organization ID as well. This is called organization ID. Whatever the ID which is showing with the 32-bit or 36-bit here, it is called nothing but a GUID. We will call it as GUID, Global Unique Identifier, right? So GUID is nothing but it is like unique identifier for everything in the dynamic CRM. If you are trying to create any instance, or not only instance, if you are trying to create any component, like you are going to create a table, field, or view, whatever the thing, whatever the configuration, whatever the functionality you are going to create. For everything, it will create some GUID. Here, if you see here, the test environment which I created, right? It opens in the URL, you could see, this is called GUID. So if you are going to raise a ticket, then this is the URL, this is the GUID, which will be automatically generated, right? That means what is tenant, you got the point. The tenant is nothing but where we create all our environment, and whatever the space or whatever the license after purchasing the license, you will get some space there. That is nothing but your tenant. In this tenant, we are going to organize all our environments. Getting my point? Now, you know basic understanding of tenant and what is environment and what is instances. Organization URL is nothing but we used to call what is your organization URL. This is my organization URLs, right? And GUID we have discussed, and deployment is nothing but moving the solution from one instance to another instance or one environment to another environment is nothing but the deployment there. We'll see how these deployments will be performed in the coming classes. So this is like basic terminology and basic usage. And in the Power Platform Admin Center, whatever we, after opening this Power Platform Admin Center, that is nothing but your tenant, right? Now, let's see some more terminology here. Maybe just I'm assuming that you are from BTech or MCA or at least BSc computers background, right? Here you have like database, maybe SQL Server or Oracle or whatever, right? Let me just compare with the database and dynamic CRM here, just to make you understand the terminology of comparing with the database. In the database, you used to call it as table. You know what is table? Table is nothing but it's a collection of rows and columns. Like we are storing some data there. To give you an example, now let's say there is a table called student. Student is a table, then serial number and student name, right? And address. These are the columns in the students. And here we have some data here. Let's say one Suresh and HY. This is my data. Here, this is the table name, this is the columns, and this is your data, right? This is how usually we'll maintain the database, right? Here in the CRM, previously we used to call it as entities. The same here, student in database perspective, I mean to say through SQL Server or Oracle, we will refer it as student, right? In Dynamics 365, previously we used to refer it as entities, right? Now, from last couple of years, we also referring it as tables. So, but you need to understand the terminology, as I said. Even though if you are entering into the CRM freshly, if you are going with some experience, that's fine. But if you are going with the fresher or experience, you should understand how the system in the olden days as well, right? That's where it will enhance your experience. So that's the reason just I want to give you this old terminology as well. Previously, we used to call it as table entities there. Now it is referring it as tables only, right? And here in the this serial number, student name, what we'll call in the database, we will call it as columns, right? We'll call it as columns. But in Dynamics 365, we used to refer it as fields, not columns. We should refer it as fields, right? And in the plugin perspective, while developer is trying to create some plugins, it will call it as attributes. In the plugins or JavaScript, they will refer it as attributes instead of fields. The same here. Now let's say student is a table which created in the CRM. In the CRM, we are not calling this a serial number or student name as column. We will refer it as fields. Whenever the developer is working on some JavaScripts or plugins, they will refer the same serial number student name as attributes, right? Just I'm focusing on the terminology wise here. That's it. And here one Suresh Hyderabad, this is your data, right? This data there we will call it as records. And here in the CRM, we will call it as rows. This is the basic terminology, right? That means whatever the software you take, there should be some database. You are working with some software to work with the data only, right? By end of the day, any organization will work on the data. To make the business, they can make the business on data only, right? So here, how you are maintaining the data, that's what the database is, as you know. And to deal with the database, you should know the terminology, as simple as that. And you may have some question here. Maybe I don't have the knowledge on the database, like DML commands, like select insert, update, delete. There are some queries like select star from table to fetch the data, insert into so and so table to insert the data, update to update the data. So I don't have basic knowledge of SQL commands. Can I succeed? Can I go with this dynamic CRM? Yes, absolutely, you can go it. Why? Because here system will not allow you to interact directly with the database. So if you want to create a table, if you want to create a new column, or if you want to update the data, insert the data, everything from the UI screen, everything from your mouse clicks, everything from the UI based on. So you no need to have any knowledge on the DML commands or SQL statements or SQL comments, right? So that's how I will explain you in detail. But let's focus here, the today's content here. And this is about the tenant environment and URLs and all. I will explain how to create URLs and all. So here, this is the basic information here. Now let's go to the Power Platform Admin Center. As I said, in your Power Platform Admin Center, the URL is admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. This is your URL to access people. Why this power? What we can do in this Power Platform? To manage the instances. So this is used to manage the instances. Why? In the sense, in total Dynamics 365, we are going to see different admin centers. One admin center is like Power Platform Admin Center, right? And second one is like Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And third one is like Azure Admin Center. So you totally in the course, you are going to see three admin centers, right? One is like Power Platform Admin Center, as I said, to manage the instances here. And Microsoft 365 Admin Center is to manage the users here. And Azure Admin Center to manage the accesses and all. Here Azure, we are going to use the limited version of Azure. You don't need to have any Azure knowledge there. It's like limited thing. But whatever you are performing in the Azure, that can be performed the same by using this tool. I will explain you, but why this Azure is required and up to what level we need this Azure, that will give you. It's like just to 10 to 15 minutes knowledge is sufficient to work on this Azure throughout your Dynamics 365 career, right? These three admin centers we are going to work. Come back to this Power Platform Admin Center. As I said, this Power Platform Admin Center is used to manage the instances, right? Now let's see that part. This Power Platform Admin Center, this is nothing but your environments. This will provide you the list of environments here. So now let's say if you want to create a new environment, so what is the steps you need to follow? Again, no need of any scripts and all. Here you could see plus new button, right? If you click here, as this is a trial with the limited licenses which we purchased for the class purpose, and there is a limitation for us. It will not allow you to us to create an environment, but I will explain you the process here. By end, while I'm clicking the save, it may throw an error for me, but I will explain you so that while you're creating a trial account, you are able to create an environment with the same steps here. So plus new button to create. The steps here is like to create a new environment, create a plus new button, right? It will take to this the window new environment, right? You can choose your name. Let's say August batch. So this is my new batch. Choose a group. We'll explain you about this group in the later. And region is nothing but whenever you are going to create an instance, you need to select one region. Maybe if it is like United States or India, whatever you have taken, the base region, we can't change the base region. This base region, what in the sense base region, while creating an environment, whatever the region you are going to select, this region is going to your base region. And this is like star mark, which shows, as you know, this is like mandatory fields. This is like mandatory fields, right? And get new features early in the sense, while discussing on the updates within next 10 minutes, I will explain you new features. So that means whenever the new features is going to release in the March or October. So if you want to get the early access to those release, then you can go with yes. So that in this particular environment, whatever the environment you are going to create, for this environment, the new features will be available. We'll discuss in detail about these new features in next 10 minutes. So the types of sandboxes, these are the types of sandboxes we have, right? developer, production, trial, and sandbox. As this is like trial, so it shows the trial subscription based, but these are the instances which is available. So for each type, they have different sort of functionality. Now let's say the production, if you want to go with the production, it has a production. There will share you the, I mean to say, here we have said, right? We have different instances, sir. Dev, QA, UAT, and production. So based upon it, you are going to have whatever the requirement you have, you can take the type of your instances and you can create the instances there. Let me select anyone here. The purpose will explain you why you are going to create an environment here. Add a Dataverse data store. So if you are going to select this Dataverse data store, it will automatically create a database for you, and where it allows you to build some apps there, right? Pay as you go with Azure. So regarding the payment and all, click on next. So here the language, here again it shows the language and the currency. So what is currency here? The language is nothing but what is your base language. As we select the base region there, it will have the same language like base language. If you are going to select some language, again, the language will not be changed in the future. Right? And currency again the same. Whatever the currency you are going to select here, whatever the revenue records of the data, which whatever you are using in your organization from marketing, sales, from marketing, sales, and service here, right? So that means you are playing with some, you are working with some data there. So whatever the data you are going to fill in this particular fields there in the rows or records, whatever the numbers you are entering in the currency details, it will show you in your base currency only. If you go with USD, the values, if you enter 1000, it is like $1,000. That's simple. And here, what is this security group? This security group is nothing but, here, let's say I have different environments, right? Here I have the dev, QA, UAT, and production. Now I have a team of 100 members. In the 100 members, 10 members are developers, and 10 members are quality acceptance engineers, and 10 members are my test engineers, and end user, there is some end users to use the product, end users. So now only 10, among 100, I have only 10 other developers. So I don't want to allow other, even though they are my employees, I don't want to allow other users to access my dev instance. Why? Because they are not my developers. They are my quality acceptance or UAT engineers. So why should I provide dev access to these engineers, right? So if you want to restrict other users to access your dev, even though they are from your same organization, also all the employees are from your organization. Let's say TCS is the company. I have 100 users. Why should I, even though they are a TCS employee, why should I provide access to all the users? Only dev is sufficient, right? So how you are going to perform it? For that, we have some security groups there. How to create security groups that I will explain you how to create a security group. So after creating a security group, we are going to provide some security group to the user. Now let's say all company is one of the security group I created. If I assign this security group to this instance, to this environment, that means the users who is a member of this all company security group, those users only can access my environment which I am going to create. That's how I'm going to restrict. Now in this scenario, for this particular arguer, now let's say I have provided the all company was one of the security group. Now if I want to access this, particular arguer, then I should be a member of all company, right? Then only I can access this organization URL. Even though I am employed to this organization, but I can't access this URL if I was not added to this all company security group. Getting my point? In this way, you can restrict other users. So here only for the dev consultant, for the dev engineers, I can add as a member to this security group, so that all these 10 dev members will get access to this instance. As simple as that. That is why this security group is required. And the URL will be automatically generated, unique domain name will be generated, enable Dynamics 365 apps. What is this Dynamics 365 apps? As I said, by default, Dynamics CRM provides some sales, service, and all, right? These apps will be automatically installed in your environment once it is getting created, right? Now click on save. This is the only thing, but it may fail. Why? Because due to space here. This environment can't be created because your organization, that is tenant, needs at least 1 GB of database capacity. As I have limited licenses here, I may not proceed for creating more than this environment. So, but if you are going with the trial account, this is the steps you need to follow. Then it will allow, it will create a instance there. So once this process is done, here it shows the status processing, and after like 10 to 15 minutes, it will show that ready. Right? Once it is ready, this is how the domain looks like. Now let's say the processing is done, it is ready. Now let's say I will take this test as my environment, which just created. Of course, just for your understanding, this is, let's say this is my environment which I created. So you see the URL in the top by putting the cursor there, the tooltip, that is my organization URL, which automatically generated by the system. Now to understand more about this environment, let's open this environment, right? This is my environment URL, which created by the system, and the state is ready, and region which we selected, right? United States. So while creating an instances or environments, you need to remember some of the base settings, as I said. Here, the language, region, currency. So these are the settings which you can't edit. Once it is created, you can't edit. But there is an exceptional here. Now let's say currently you have created an environment in the US region. But if you want to move it to APAC time zone, APAC in sense IST or Australia region, then you can raise a ticket to Microsoft so that they will change this region from your end, but from your end, you can't change these base settings. And for the language or the currency, even though you request the Microsoft, they are not going to help you. This is like fixed. But here, this is like base settings. But there we have some personalization settings concept, which I will explain you. The personalization settings is nothing but if now let's say this BMW company is working throughout the globe, in the different countries, in the Arabian side or whatever, like US, UK, India, and so on, right? There is a lot of users, the end users are working on this BMW company, the organization. But if I am okay to see in Hindi language, or maybe from the some other person from the Japanese or the Chinese language, they can have their own personalization settings. The system will allow you to have some personalization settings, right? In these personalization settings, they can change their language. What is their language in the sense their personal settings they can change. If they change the personal settings from language English to Spanish, all the information will be shown in the Spanish language. The same way, if I change the currency to the rupees in my personalization setting, whatever the revenue is there, it will be shown in terms of rupees instead of USD. By using this personalization settings, we can achieve that thing. That will explain in detail. Right? And here the type of the instance which you selected, it is like sandbox and security group. Here for this particular test instance, I have given the Quantaso as my security group. So that if I want to allow you as an to access this instance, then I should add you as a member to this security group. Then only you can able to access this particular URL. That we'll see in detail. In Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we are going to perform all these actions. While creating an user, I will explain you about this security group, maybe in the tomorrow's class, right? And coming to this organization ID, as I said, for anything, there is like GUID will be generated and there is an environment ID will be there. For every organization URL, these are the options we have, right? This is the basic details information of the environment which you create. Now, what is this auditing? Auditing is nothing but for every organization, especially while you are working with some production instances, every company will work depends their revenue depends upon their customer data, right? So the data is going to be like crucial or important role here, right? The data is going to be play a very important role here. So the data is very much mandatory here, right? So you should have some eye on the data. I mean to say the auditing should be there so that if anything happens to your data, you should have some traction on it. To maintain the traction on the data, we can use this auditing concept in a simple way, which I can explain you. Now, let's say I have a customer named as Suresh, like BMW car, for BMW. Let's say I'm the customer to the BMW. If someone edited my details there in their system, they should have the traction which employee, which user changed my details there. They should have some traction, right? For that, you can have this auditing concept so that this auditing can be enabled on the organization level and also on the table level, right? What is table again? In an organization, we have different tables is there. We have different tables on, we can also specify which table you require. Again, in the table, now let's say this is my student table. In this student, I don't want to have auditing on the address column, address field. Just I want, if anyone changes the student name value, now instead of Suresh, they made it as Suresh Babu. That means they have made some update. If I want to have only the field level auditing, that is also possible. This is about the auditing. For this auditing, to make you understand full functionality of this auditing, it will take one session. But this is like basic auditing information, which allows you to have the traction of each and every change happened on your data, right? And this is version number, which explains you what is the current version of the database, right? This is 9.2. This is the current version there, right? And we are discussing about the version in the sense, how frequently the updates will be there. Here it shows updates 2024 release wave 1. What is this 2024 release wave 1? So to make you understand, regarding these updates, as I just given the information in the demo, regarding the updates, the Dynamics 365, every week we have minor updates, right? And every year we have two major updates. This is how the Dynamics CRM plan. What is this major updates? Major update is nothing but we have wave 1 and wave 2 releases. And wave 2. Usually this will start from end of March or April start week. It will start, and here maybe October, maybe in the sense like 1 or 2 weeks plus or minus. Now here how the Microsoft will deal in the sense, the major releases is nothing but, as I said, here the 9.2.24063.184. That means every Friday this number is going to be updated. That means every week they are going to have some minor updates. These minor updates will not impact any users. I mean to say it's general, the patch updates or security updates or the any if there is any bugs previously there is any bugs, they are going to fix that bugs. Only this type of activities will be performed over the weekend updates. But coming to this wave 1 and wave 2, they are going to implement the new functionalities. Maybe they are going to change the look and feel of your instances. That's how this particular updates will be performed. But for this measure, is there any impact on your production? For it, no. Again, why in the sense? Before getting into the, now let's say here I have said in the month of April, right? But the pre-release, we will call it as pre-release. Pre-release is available from month of January, right? So what Microsoft suggests in the sense, you can have one UAT instance, you can create one UAT instance as we created here, the environment. We can take a copy of the production to this UAT, and in this particular UAT, we are going to enable the wave 1 release in the month of January itself. So that with the production data, with the production functionality or whatever the developers developed the functionality, and with the out-of-the-box functionality, they will also enable this wave 1 release in the pre-releases to test the preview of the upcoming release. So in this pre-release, they are going to identify if system encountered any issue with the new releases or not. In general, 95 to 98% there will be no issue. It is compatible only. But if the developer developed some extra functionality, maybe in that there is like 1% chance of violation with their developed code, then they can change their code or they can raise the ticket to the Microsoft so that the Microsoft team will help you to fix the issue. But in my experience, because of this wave 1, there is no issue still now, right? But as an early release, Microsoft suggests to test their functionality with the upcoming releases. So how we are going to do that upcoming releases in the sense, now let's say this is our test instance, right? In this test instance, in this admin center page, here it shows currently it is on, but here shows manage on. In this, click on manage and click on, so that automatically all the upcoming releases will be enabled. Now, why it is not showing any preview? Why? Because next preview is available on wave 2 on October. So October in the sense, maybe September end of the September end, you can see the wave 2 new releases there. So you can test that wave 2 in the September end of the month. Right? That is how this wave 1 and wave 2 will be managed. And recent operations, it's like what happens, what is the operations happened previously on your instance. This is like generic information which it shows. But here, what actually we need to understand in the sense, as I said, the releases, right? Every week we have the release and wave 1 and wave 2. Where you are going to get all this information. How it's just from April in the sense. Now let's say total throughout the globe, in the Microsoft perspective, they divided into different regions there. Now let's say APAC is one region, and EMEA is one region, and NAM is another region. In that way, they have different regions. They have divided throughout the globe. I mean to say, now let's say APACs like India, Australia comes into the APAC, UK comes into the EMEA, and US comes into the NAM, right? In general. In this way, they have divided into different regions here. For every region, they will make it as some name here, like station 1, station 2, right? Station 3. So this is like how the Microsoft treat this. They will call it as the train will be released. This is the terminology which they use. Maybe this is not required, but just to you want to understand what will happen in the backend, right? They will release some train schedule. Now let's say now in the October 2nd. Now let's say October 2nd, you are going to get the wave to release on station 1 in the effect. And in the next week, maybe October 8th, you are going to get the same update, whatever the update received in the APAC, that update will be available on October 8th for the EMEA region users. And again, maybe October 14th or something. This is like weekends. I mean to say like 2nd if it is Friday and 8th is Friday, 14th of Friday, just for your understanding, right? This is how the dynamic CRM will plan. So as an user, how you can understand this? Maybe if you see to understand this, it may be something difficult for you to understand, but how the dynamic CRM Microsoft will maintain. So to give you more information on it, let me show you some links here. This is like data center regions. Again, this is Microsoft document. It is like public facing document where anyone can access. I will share this document for your reference, just to make you understand whatever I am telling here. Now, let's say I have selected like US region, right? The region is US. US is nothing but, again, this is an important thing. Here, Power Platform Admin Center. This is my Power Platform here, right? My organization URL, it shows with some information .crm.dynamics.com. From here, this is like unique, and here where actually your organization name will come under, right? Here .crm is nothing but NAM region. If you are going to select the region as India, it will take CRM 8. If you take the region as UK, it will take CRM 4. That's how, by seeing the domain URL, you can understand which region this environment belongs to. How this is going to manage in the sense, in this data center regions, if you see here, this is how it is segregated. If you select the region as NAM, the URL will be crm.dynamics.com. If it is Canadian region, CRM3. And if it is like India, it takes crm8.dynamics.com. And GCC is like US government, crm9.dynamics.com. GCC high in the sense that again, US government, which is like high, it won't allow you to access outside of US, crm.microsoftdynamics.us. GBR, again, UK region, In this way, you could see the different regions. Based upon the region you are going to select, it will give you a different URL. What is this region and all? This is nothing but Microsoft CRM has the different data centers where they maintain the servers. Based upon the data, based upon the region you selected, this is the data center where your server will be allocated. The space in the server will be allocated. So as a consultant, so there may be like by seeing the URL, you can understand which region it belongs to, right? This is the data center information which it provides. Now you have the data centers, right? Now let's say if there is any releases or any update should be, if there is any update, it is not going to update the patch, update the software on all the regions at a time. That is not like that. So it will have some schedule. So first it will complete in some few regions. Now let's say first it will complete in these three regions. Now let's say today is on second. If they updated the release on first three, in the next ninth, it will get in the another three. In that way, it will go. So now let's say ABC is like version which you need to update. If ABC version is updated in the NAM region on 2nd of Friday, so last data center will get on 30. Getting my point? Throughout the globe, Microsoft CRM is not going to update at a time. So they have some schedule. Based upon the schedule, they will keep on updating your servers there. So you know what is region and all. So how the data centers will be maintained, based upon the data centers, how the URL will be generated regarding the CRM 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and all, right? This you know. Now let's see the schedule thing, but I'm trying to explain here the train schedule and all. Here, now let's say here, station 1, only for opted-in environments. Now let's say I want to be in the station 1. Why? Because let's say ICICI Bank is like dynamic CRM customer. So they are working with huge amount of data with the customers and the revenue and all. So whatever the early releases and whatever the releases provided by the Microsoft, I should be in the first position to get that functionality available. So you can request your Microsoft to keep you in the station 1. So that whatever the releases coming from the Microsoft, it would be in the first station only, right? They will get their releases. And in the station 2, Canada Central, Canada East, France, and you could see Switzerland and some stations, some countries there. So in the station 2, it will get updated in these countries. And station 3, you could see, right? In the same way, you could see station 4, like East Asia, UK, and all, East government communities and all, station 1 to station 6. So wherever you have, like in which station your organization belongs, now let's say PQU release train. Now let's say this is your update. February 7th, 2024, there is one. This is how the train schedule will be populated in the public facing documents. Getting my point? To make you understand here, August platform version, if you want to update, if the Microsoft would like to update this version, 10.0, remove this, just ignore about this version numbers and all, just try to focus how the Microsoft is going to deploy. Of course, no one is going to question you in the interviews about this one, or this is not going to help you while working with some of the project. But as a dynamic CRM consultant, you should understand what's happening with the application, in which application you are trying to work, right? That's how I'm just making you to some deep understanding about how the Microsoft is going to provide you the update on your application which you are using, right? Here the app version. Now let's say this is your app version, the latest app version, which the Microsoft is going to update. Now, if you are in the station 5, that means on the station 1, people will get that update in August 1. So they are update while compared to you are in station 5. Let's say you are in station 5. That is, you are in India. India comes to station 5. Let's assume. Now, whatever the update released by Microsoft, that update will receive to these people on July 29th itself. But you need to wait until August 19th to get the same update to your place. You can't get this update on July 29th. Why? Because this should go across as per the schedule. Right? This is how the dynamic CRM will maintain. They will not update all the softwares at the same time on all data centers. It has some train schedule. Based upon the schedule, they will update the data center, as simple as that. Getting my point? This is about the updates. I will share you these 2 documents. I will put this in the notes so that you can go through these documents there if you want to explore more information here. So how the data centers will be maintained. This is for the data centers. On this for the release schedule. So this is the release schedule and data centers, how the dynamic CRM will maintain, right? And again, for the same, not only for the major or minor, for every release, it's the same thing. For every release, they will follow the same. Now, let's say minor release. Let me go to the Power Platform Admin Center. Now, this is in NAM region, right? NAM region. So, as per the schedule here, where it is. So, North American, where it is North American. Okay, let's say Canada here in station 2. And in the Europe, it is station 5, right? That means station 2 is ahead than station 5. Now, if let's say here, if you see the admin center of United, if you see the version number here, for me it shows 24063, right? But if you see the station 5 guys, they will be still in the 24061 or 62. They will be in 24062 only. Now for the NAM region, it shows 63. For them, it shows still 62 only. That's how the version numbers, everything, like not only the major releases, even for the minor releases, it follow the same trend schedule. This is about the admin center. And what is this Power Platform today? Just for a recap, today we have seen what is this Power Platform Admin Center and what is the URL of Power Platform Admin Center and what are the admin centers which we are going to see in our course content and some of the basic terminology which I try to explain you and regarding these instances and all to how to create an instance we have seen and what this terminology from the database to D365 perspective that we have seen, right? Regarding the base settings we have seen and regarding the updates we have discussed. There will be minor updates for every week and major updates yearly twice, right? And how the dynamic CRM, how the Microsoft is maintaining these data centers and based upon the data center, how you are going to get this URL like CRM 2, 3, 4, 5 and all, how this is going to perform, how the data centers will be maintained and how the updates will be performed on the data centers. So up to this level, maybe it's like regular for you to use, but this is just for your understanding for the data centers update and all. But as you are entering into the dynamic CRM, I believe like you should be going in depth for each and every concept, so that it will be help you to expertise your knowledge there. Yeah, that's it for today. Please let me know if you have any questions on today's topic. In the tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss how to create a trial account so that you should be creating some trial account with the procedure and so that you can start exploring the system there. Yeah, that's it from my end. It's like open forum. Please let me know if you have any questions here.
Sir, please explain what is the difference between tenant and an environment.
So tenant is a place where you are having all environments at one place. As I said, now let's say you have purchasing some licenses with the dynamic CRM. You should be assigned with some space, right? That space, now let's assume it's like a big box where you are allocating some space, some container. In some big container, you are getting some space, some little box in that container. So that container is, remember, it's a tenant. Whatever you are making, whatever the instances or the environments or whatever you are creating, that would be in your tenant only. No other customer will access your tenant information. That is only secured for you. It is only space which is allotted to you by Microsoft, right? There is no tenant URLs. There will be a tenant ID only. Now let's say I'm working on this particular instance here, right? If I'm working on this instance, I have this org URL has some separate environment URL or organization ID, where this organization is available in my tenant. In the same way, if I have 10 environments, everything in the single tenant only. That is nothing but one space which is allocated to you. That is nothing but the tenant where you have some ID for the tenant. So whenever you are raising a ticket, that would be with the tenant ID only. Got it, Kavita?
Yes, sir. Each and every client
Has
ticket
their
will have a separate space, separate
correct,
tenant.
correct.
Okay.
So other CRM softwares in the market, just to make you understand here. Now let's say we have some competitors, right? So other CRM techniques, how they are following. Now let's say the Salesforce there. It is like multi-tenant architecture. Now let's say what is the difference in the tenant perspective? Let me explain you, try to explain it here. Now in dynamic CRM, you will be provided with single tenant, right? You will be provided with single tenant. So whatever the applications are Now let's say ICICI Bank purchased the Dynamic CRM license. They are using the Sales Hub application. In the single tenant, the space which is provided to the ICICI Bank by Microsoft, they will have access to their tenant only. But if the same ICICI Bank will purchase the Salesforce CRM, they will be assigned with multi-tenant here. What is the difference in the sense? Now here ICICI Bank purchase and also HDFC. We take you one example here. Now let's say this is my server, right? Let me first discuss about the Microsoft here. Now this is your tenant in Microsoft, right? And only you have access to this particular tenant. But if you go to the other CRM application like Salesforce, here this is maybe their server, and here one tenant is allocated. Now this tenant will be shared by different. I mean to say this tenant will be shared by ICICI Bank and HDFC. This is like multi-tenant. So here the single tenant will be assigned to you in Dynamics, but coming to the Salesforce and all, it is like multi-tenant. If it is like banking sector, all the bank sectors will be kept in one particular tenant, and this is shared to the different users. Now ICICI and HDFC will use the same tenant, but of course Salesforce will maintain the security for the data so that another user can't access this particular information of ICICI Bank, and ICICI Bank can't access the HDFC. But this is how the tenant will be shared with the different customers there. But here, this is like single tenant. If it is allocated, this will be with you only. Why in the sense here? Now let's say this banking have different APIs and different services there. Only for these bankings, they will create some tenant. If there is some automobiles, they will create some separate tenant here. So for all the automobile sector industries, they will use this tenant. And if it is from oil and industry, they will create some different tenant. So based upon the platforms, they will create a tenants here. But in Dynamic CRM, whatever it is, for each and every customer, they will create a single tenant. I hope I answered your query, Kavita.
Maintaining like a single tenant for each and every individual won't affect the cost.
That's
for
what.
maintenance.
That's the main deal here. That's the reason. While compared to the Dynamic CRM, Salesforce is less in cost. That's the main reason.
Okay.
So you can check that in the tomorrow in the licensing part. I will discuss the costing just for your basic understanding there. You can check in the Google as well. So when compared to the Dynamic CRM, Salesforce is less in cost. While in the in licensing perspective, why? Because this is one of the reasons there. Yeah, I will take the challenge as no questions, and we'll wind up the session for today, and we'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Thank you all. And this recording will be shared by admin team within a couple of hours so that you can go through the video, and I will share this this notes as well in the WhatsApp group. If you still have any questions, please feel free to ping in the WhatsApp group. At least I will respond you. I'm going to respond you within at least a couple of hours.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.